Hi, I'm Veronica Rogers, and welcome to the Players Theater here in Sarasota for the first look at the play Not Our Time with local hometown hero Henry Lawrence. So stay tuned, and we'll be back. We are here at the Players Theater in Sarasota with Jeffrey Kinn, the artistic director.
Hi.
Thank you for spending some time with us.
We love having you. Welcome.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Me. Wow. Well, I am the artistic director here at the Players Theater. We are an 85-year-old organization. We are starting our 86th season in September. So the Players Theater has been a part of the fabric of Sarasota since 1930. So we've been around a long time.
I can imagine those days back then.
Oh, the history of the space is really interesting. And in fact, in this right where we are on Tamiami Trail, we were in a little house right on the road, and then they built this building in 1972, and so that's why we have this great structure for being a little community theater like we are.
And I'm sure you've grown so much in that time. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we seat about 500 people, so we're not like an average community theater that people will recognize from around the country. I always kind of say we're like a community theater on steroids, and our work really ends up following more on the lines of a professional, like a light professional company. Really, our designers, our directors, our choreographers, the staff receives a stipend. It's the performers that are volunteers, and our ushers that are volunteers, and our sets are built by volunteers. So really, we consider ourselves part of that fabric because we don't hire out to other states, or we don't go to New York City for our talent. It's all talent that is all locally homegrown, and it's all that money and all that energy stays right here in Sarasota.
And how many plays do you do a year here?
Oh my Lord. Well, I know for a fact that we had 285 productions in our theater last year. So out of 365 days, we did that many performances. So we had main stage, like big Broadway musicals, and our backstage theater. We do cutting edge, smaller plays. We do play readings in the front lobby. So we really have this great kind of symbiosis where we kind of do a little bit of everything. And then we have an entire school, so we're also teaching students and what we call the stars of tomorrow, so that as people get older and as they grow and learn, they are funneling into our shows and they become part of our productions.
Well, tell me a little bit about that school and how you grow local talent.
Well, I think the main thing is that since we've been here so long, people know that if they have a kid that all of a sudden is showing signs of, that they're talking into their hairbrush or singing into their hairbrush, that they kind of say, wow, and I received this call last year. I had a mom call me. I picked her up on the phone, and she goes, you know what? I have a 6-year-old, and I think he needs to be on stage. And we don't know what to do with him. And I'm like, well, just so you know, that was me in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. And my parents didn't quite know what to do with me either. But I think them asking the question and saying, wow, I have a unique talent here, and that they have a place to call, and that we have an ability to say, come to one of our classes, be part of our summer camp. Yet they may find that a life on the stage is meant for them. And even if it's not, it gives them great, I'm trying to think of the right word, abilities to be better, stronger adults. So we almost call our scholarship fund Building Better Grown-Ups, because we are investing in the youth so that they are better, more well-rounded citizens.
And so how do you get the funding for that
Wow,
school?
That's a great question. You've done this before, haven't you? Yeah.
I sang in my hairbrush.
Oh, see? I knew it. I could tell. Ticket sales. A lot of our funding comes from just the fact that we produce shows and that people come and see them. So just by coming to see a show at the Players Theater, you become part of that structure. Obviously, we have grants that we write, and we have wonderful organizations like the Women's Exchange that support us and help us. The community foundations help us. Local restaurants help us because we help them when we have people here in the audience and we say, hey, go to the Starlight afterwards for a drink, and they do. So we really have a great support system within our community that we couldn't live without.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
people probably don't realize what they're doing when they buy tickets.
Well, yeah, I always kind of say the Players Theater would be missed once it was gone because people don't realize what a foothold we've had into the community. And when you go to a big event and there's Grecian columns, where do they get those columns? Well, they borrow them from us. Or if there's people singing on the street for an event, where do those people come from? Well, often they come from us. So we actually help other organizations. We help with fundraisers. We help with special events. We help with costumes for people for Halloween. So we actually do a lot for the community that people really wouldn't realize until, if by chance, which won't happen because we'll go on 100 years easily, if we were to close our doors, people would really then realize what they're missing.
Do you have a favorite production?
Oh boy. You know what? As an artistic director, I love the show that I put into our season. And my patrons kind of go like, well, I don't really know that. I'm not. What is that? What is that? What's that Spitfire Grill or what's that Hands on a Hard Body or what? I don't know that show. And then after I've produced it, and they're walking away, they go, Jeffrey, I have a brand new musical. Or I have a brand new favorite show, or I'm singing these songs. So I guess for me as an artistic director, being able to just be that person that maybe engages people in a way that they didn't realize. So yes, we'll do the Hello Dollies and we'll do the Fiddler on the Roofs, but then we're also going to do these other smaller musicals like Violet that maybe you don't know of, but you can walk away saying, wow, I'm glad I came. I have a brand new favorite musical.
And tell me a little bit about the film festivals that you've been involved in.
Well, really the new play.
Tell us the real
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for us, we really kind of stick to what's happening on our stage. And I'm a theater person. I've been an actor since I was, 5 years old when my parents didn't know what to do with me. I always look for ways of being and embracing a need. So if there's a need, if there's a slot to be filled that's not being filled by other theaters, then that's the job of a community theater. That's my job. So fortunately, even before I was hired here, I was a part of a new play festival that was started at this theater that allowed local playwrights to submit their works, and they were read in our lobby, and one was chosen as the winner, and then that play was then produced the next season. That started 13 years ago, a long time ago. I was one of those people that put in a play. My first time I put in a play, I didn't win, but I got a reading, and I learned a lot from it. So then I've been on that angle. And then the next year, I put a play in, and then that's the play that I won.
What play was it?
It was called Anna, Leona, and the Lady Luck, and it was a play that I wrote because I said, gosh, if my mom met me on a bus, if I was driving down in the country and if I was in a bus and I met my mom, what would that be like? And it just kind of was one of those plays that came out of my brain. You never know where inspiration comes from, And so then that year, I like I said, I won that process. The next year, the artistic director then at the time said, Jeffrey, we need your energy to help keep this festival going. Would you help us coordinate? And so I kind of switched gears, and then I became a proponent and a coordinator of the event. But it was a great idea, and it was a good thought, because I've seen what it does, and I know what it does for a playwright to just simply have their play read in front of a live audience and get that feedback. And I'll never forget it as long as I live, during both readings of my plays, of me sitting in the back of the house, watching an audience, watch actors reading words that you've written, and laughing and crying and being engaged and involved and moved. You cannot put a value on that. You can't put a price on it. So as you can see, I gained a great deal of knowledge from the process, and now I'm the booster. You know what I mean? And now I'm the one that kind of helps everyone else with their plays, like Bernie Yanelli's play. I mean,
you talk about, the emotion in what I saw and read. It is just amazing. Tell me a little bit about.
Well, Bernie submitted this play last year to our new play festival. So last year, we read 5 new plays on 5 nights. And we had actors just reading with their scripts, and a director kind of directed it. And then an audience was there. And then after the play was over, we let the audience talk. So the audience gives you feedback, and some of it's really great, some of it's not, some of it's diamonds in the rough. But Bernie was able to then take what a great pearl of an idea that he had, and then with the help of the audience and with the help of his actors, was then able to take all of that information and start the rewriting process. And then he has basically a year to just keep rewriting and doing readings and working out kinks and making sure that he's making his points. We're fortunate in Bernie that we have a writer who is so devoted to the process, and he cares about the words, and he cares about the people that he's writing about. He loves history. He enjoys the struggles of history. I love history as well, but when I look at a piece like Not Our Time, I think of how far have we gone, and what does this play set in 1969 have to do with where we are in 2015? And it's pretty amazing. It's somewhat sad because you would think that we would have gotten farther, but that's what theater does. That's what theater's for. It's to make that correlation and have an audience come in and just maybe learn something.
So what would you like people to take away from this play?
History repeats itself is the obvious thing, because if we aren't learning and if we aren't opening up our hearts and our brains to other ideas, other cultures, other people, to have empathy for them, to understand what it's like to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. I think as a performer, I naturally do that. I have a natural knack for being able to have the feeling of what it's like to maybe be an outsider or somebody that's different from me. And I hope that an audience would do the exact same thing, to be able to walk away from the experience and realize, wow, I didn't know that, or wow, that was unfair. And what can we do with this knowledge that we have right now to fix something that is a problem in our current life or in my current life? Maybe I should vote. Maybe I should volunteer for...
How can you make an impact in society?
Exactly. So maybe it might engage people to actually kind of help solve some of our current problems, learning something from 1969.
Well, we're so excited about this play, and thank you so much for spending time with us.
You are
this
most
evening.
welcome. You're most welcome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jeffrey.
Thanks.
Woo! Who's that? Henry. What's up, brother? Hey, we did it, Jay. We did it. Hey, we did it, man. 3 years in a row, we never lost a game for this school. Hey, if we ain't the best team in the state, I don't know what. Man, we ain't just the best team in the state. We're the best team ever. We should get medals or something. Medals? What kind of medals? Gold medals. Gold medals? Man, you know, like the brothers in Mexico at the Olympic Games. Everybody gone? We're all gone, man. Where you been? I was out talking to my mama. She was hugging and crying on me, telling me how proud she was. Yeah, good for you. Hey, sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that. That's all right. I'm sure her mama's proud of me, too. Wherever she is.
Hi, we're here with Carol Kleinberg, the director of the play Not Our Time.
Not Our Time.
Thank you so much for taking time with us this evening, Carol.
My pleasure.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself, all your experience
Oh,
that led you here.
We don't have enough time for all my experience. I'm originally from Chicago, and I've been working in theater since I'm 15. Well, actually, even before that, I come from a theater family. My mom was a band singer, and Grandma was the accompanist for Florenz Ziegfeld before he moved to
Really?
Yeah.
Ziegfeld.
Yeah,
I
so-
love it. That's one of my favorite movies, The Funny Girl.
Oh, mine too. I love it. So I got down to Sarasota because Grandma moved down here, and she did a lot of community theater here, and here I am doing the same old thing Grandma did.
Wow. I mean...
Except now I'm Grandma.
So tell me a little bit about the play and what inspired you to direct this play.
Well, I've been working on the play with the playwright, Bernie Yanelli, for about 3 years. And one of the things I do in addition to working as a director is work with playwrights developing new works. So I've been on the ride with Bernie almost from the beginning with this, and it's been a joyride.
Well, tell me a little bit about how you work with the playwrights.
Oh, my goodness. We do draft after draft, and we talk about the dialogue, and we talk about the characters, and we talk about keep clarity in what the plot line is, and clarity on the character qualities, and if there's anything that along the way has a false note, then Bernie goes back and rewrites, and then we go over the script again, and I think we're on draft 17.
And 3 years.
Yes, I think we're on draft, pretty sure this is version 17 that we're working with.
And it's coming to life soon,
It's coming
next
to life.
week.
We've done, over the years, we've done small readings in the living room, and then about a year ago we did a full-scale rehearsed reading in town. And then Bernie entered the play in the new play festival here at the Players Theater, and it won.
Wow.
And
Tell me a little bit about that new play festival.
It is a wonderful thing I think it's the only thing like, well, I know it is the only thing like it in this area. It is a competition. Playwrights submit their work, and it is a juried competition, so they have a committee who read all the plays, and they select, I think it was 5 this year. The top, and they don't know who the playwrights are. It's a blind competition. And then those playwrights get a rehearsed reading on this stage, and there's rules for the way the readings are rehearsed so that it's a level playing field for everybody. They have very skilled actors who portray the characters, and they always have a director who knows what he or she is doing, do the pulling it together. And then there's an audience for each reading, and it's really important for the playwrights to get the feedback from the audience, because unlike a novel, plays are written to be performed, and they don't live on the printed page. When I was in Chicago, I was a theater professor, and I used to tell my students that the play is to the performance like the score is to the symphony, or the playbook is to a football game, the blueprint is to a building. And then
Great analogies.
And then you construct it. The actors are the raw material that it gets constructed out of, and it's why you can go see the same play 3 different times with 3 different casts, and really you see 3 different plays, because they are the emotional content. They're the color and they're not, the play script gives it the structure, but really the emotional content of the play comes from what happens with the actors, with the director, and in the end, the actors and the audience. It is not complete ever until there's an audience.
How many plays have you directed?
Oh, I don't know. Probably getting close to 100 now.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I do.
Do you want to share?
A Diary of Anne Frank.
Great.
It was, it was the first play I directed, and it was awful the first time I did it. It
Why
really
is that?
Because I didn't know anything. I was dumb and young and not very seasoned, and didn't have the life experience that you really need to do something like that. But the last time I did it, I had a wonderful cast, and personally, I thought a brilliant production concept. I staged it. I was in England, and I got a hold of a book that had not been published here in the United States, with photographs that Otto Frank took of the girls growing up. And I had an intern from Columbia College in Chicago, a film student, who made basically a PowerPoint program for me. And we ran slides, the images of the girls growing up in pre-show, and then we froze on an image of the annex, and then the lights came up and the annex was there. And then between each of the scenes, we sequenced slides of what was going on outside while they were inside. And then we would freeze on one of the images so that in the scene where they think they hear SS guards outside, you see an SS guard getting out of his car and they're inside. And it was very effective.
Powerful
Yeah.
and emotional. And I had the opportunity to tour the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, and wow, it is just so powerful.
It is.
What would you say? I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say
ahead.
what was kind of fun was the last thing that we did was sequence. This was in the mid-'90s. We sequenced from Serbian refugees in boxcars. The next slide was Isaac Rabin's funeral, and the last slide was the fireman holding that baby in Oklahoma City. And just, I wanted to yank it to now. And it did, and the audience was just, every night it was just delicious for me.
I love that. Tell me, what would you consider your biggest success?
I think my biggest success was here. I directed a play called Kiss the Sun, Kiss the Moon for the Banyan Theater Company, and a wonderful cast. And I have had many people come up to me and say, even now, I think about 5 years ago, people come up to me and say that the feeling, the emotion, the power of it stayed with them and remains with them, and that's a very special thing. If you really do a piece of art, somebody comes into that. Anywhere, if you're going to go to an art museum, if you're going to the theater, you come in here, and when you experience that piece of art, it moves you and changes you, and you're forever changed.
Take a little piece of it with you.
Right.
And same with this play that's
And
coming
this.
up. Not Our Time. I mean, powerful story as well. What do you want people to take away from that?
It concerns me that it's still happening. It really concerns me that it's still happening. So I want people to have awareness and insight and realization that they can do something, that each of us in our own individual way can impact, that change is possible. For the 3 boys in the play, all of them go through change. In 2 cases, it's very positive change. And I don't think Bernie wrote it this way, and I know he didn't intend it, but they are in some ways archetypes for the choices that we make, particularly the choices that kids make when they're at that point in their life when they can go one direction or another. And we have 3 different young people in the play who are high school seniors, and each of them comes to a point where they have to make a really significant choice about how they're going to live their life and who they are. And they each do make that choice, and for one of them for 2 of them it's very positive, and for one it's a choice to go to what we're seeing in Ferguson right now. And it makes me terrifically sad to see what's still happening in the world. And I think this play has so much integrity. I mean, it is based on a true story. It is, and Henry Lawrence is a remarkable, a giant of a man in every sense, because he is a sweet, kind, super intelligent and generous spirited person. And it's a real privilege for me to be able to do this little piece of Henry's story. And for all of us, we're working just to make sure our work has integrity.
And people don't really think about the little changes that can make a big impact and a big difference in our society today. So we hope people take that message home with them, and we thank you so much for spending time with us this evening, and we're really looking forward to seeing the play.
Oh, thank you. I'm looking
Thanks,
forward
Carol.
to seeing it too.
Thank you.
You see the look on Coach's face when we had him up on our shoulders?
Nah, I was messing with Chantel and Lydia, setting up a little action for later on. I still ain't figure out which one of them's gonna be my woman tonight.
You're some kind of ladies' man, Jet.
But first we're celebrating, right?
Tonight?
Hell yeah, tonight. I ain't letting you back out again.
Man, you crazy. I'm going home, taking me a long shower, and I'm getting
Man, what's the matter with you?
Man, I played every down, both sides of the ball. You got the easy job, you know, catching a few passes, scoring a few touchdowns, waving to all your fans.
That's because I'm the Jet Man.
Yeah, you're the fastest thing I've ever seen, that's for sure.
I know what's going on. You sneaking out on me again, ain't you?
Sneaking out what?
Rumors going around you got something cooking with that hot new English teacher.
Who told you that? Tell me now so I can bust in this damn skull.
Take it easy, brother. I know I'm just messing with you. I know you're shy with the lady.
I ain't shy with no ladies.
Come on, man. If I didn't set you up with my cousin, I would have to been your prom date. And the Jet Man can't be having the ladies questioning his sexuality, if you know what I mean.
We are here this evening with the man that made this all possible, Bernard Yanelli, the playwright. Wow, powerful story. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to write this play.
Well, it started about 4 or 5 years ago. I saw a documentary entitled Through the Tunnel that was written and or produced by Charles Clapsidle, Durand Adams, and Charles Williams. And Mr. Clapsidle had actually given me a preview copy, and I saw it, and I was really moved by it. But then I saw it at the Sarasota Film Festival at the Sarasota Opera House, and I was sitting there with my wife, and I literally had tears streaming down my face most of the evening, and she finally said, "What's wrong with you? Why are you crying?" I said, because I teach this stuff. I teach American history and economics and politics at St. Stephen's Episcopal School, and I have a very good understanding, I think, of the civil rights movement, but I didn't really understand it fully until I saw that documentary and heard Henry Lawrence speak and Moody Johnson and others. And I decided that I wanted to write that story as a stage play. And just ironically, the next night I bumped into Henry Lawrence at a blues festival at Kojak's up in Palmetto. And I went up to him and I said, introduced myself, and I'm 5'8", and Henry's about 6'4", and I explained that I'm a history teacher and an amateur playwright, and I said, I'd really like to write this story, and I said, as a sign of good faith, I'm not doing this to make money, but if I make money, I'll give you half. And he looked at me and he said, will you put that in writing? And I looked up at him and said, absolutely. I said, do you think a man my size is going to try to screw over a man your size? So he laughed that big hearty laugh, and we've been friends ever since. And so we've met a number of times for lunch and dinner. He's been to my home, and I got to know Henry in a very personal way about his heroic story. And I felt as though I was getting a portal into the civil rights movement that I, as a teacher and growing up in Connecticut, never would otherwise have. And it was a remarkable gift that he gave me, and it's made me definitely a better teacher, and I hope a better man. So I was very inspired by this documentary, but more particularly by Henry Lawrence's life story, which is a remarkable story.
It is, and we talked a little bit earlier about dreams, and you told me about your past 20 years in international business. Tell me a little bit about what brought you here.
Well, it's been a long journey. I feel like Odysseus sometimes, just wandering around in the South. I always thought I'd get back to New England, but my wife is from Texas, and so my career started off in New York City. I was an international banker in Tokyo and spent time in London. And after my banking career, I was hired by Chuck E. Cheese to be their strategic planning and franchise director. So I traveled all around the world. So I've had the good fortune to live in Osaka and Tokyo, Japan, London, England, and Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. So it was a great ride. But I always wanted to teach and write and coach. My father died when I was a young boy. And I had some great mentors along the way, especially my high school soccer coach, who was a national coach of the year. We won 2 state titles. And so every day as a teacher, I feel like I'm paying debts or repaying debts to some of the many mentors I had. And John McVicker was an extraordinary man, and it was almost like a surrogate dad. And I had other teachers and coaches in high school and then in college that always felt like they were looking out for me, even though I might not deserve it. So that's been a great way to live my life as a teacher, because I have a lot of energy for someone my age, and I attribute it to that mindset that I have debts to repay. So I became a teacher 13 years ago, and after my first year teaching, this is in Dallas, Texas, before we moved here, my wife sat me down and said, if you think I'm going to sit by and watch you relive your senior year in high school every year, you are absolutely nuts. But that's pretty much what I've been doing for the last 13 years. So I see my life as a teacher. It's the greatest profession in the world, at least for me. I get to interact with ideas and teenagers all day long. And so I'm at St. Stephen's Episcopal, as I mentioned, which is an amazing school. It's up in Manatee Avenue in Bradenton. And we have such interesting students from all over the world. And to be able to teach and mentor and coach, and get them involved in my writing projects. They're always interested to hearing what's happening, and I'm expecting 100 or more at the performance on Saturday night to see this play. So they know all about this play. Henry Lawrence has been in my classroom. They were a little shocked when he told the story about how he was drinking moonshine at 10 years old in the fields up in South Carolina, so some of them were taken back by that. But Henry's a very real person. I've been to his nightclub act many times. A great singer. But his story is really about courage and perseverance, and I think that's what drew me to that story, because I feel as though my life has been perseverance. The chances that I, a 56-year-old teacher from Florida, are going to have my third full-length play produced, and I have.
I was going to ask you how many plays
I've had
produced.
3. This is going to be my third full-length play. I've had a play here at Players Theater called Casting Shadows, produced in -- and then a story about Alexander Hamilton called Undaunted in 2011. And then when I saw Undaunted on stage, when I saw my first play on stage, I thought, boy, I can do better. So I was a bit disappointed. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I really didn't. The next play, Undaunted, when I saw it, it was much better, but I realized I had basically taken a 10-hour miniseries and crammed it into a 2-hour stage play. So I thought, okay, better, but I can still do better. And then I started this story, and the process is very nonlinear. I write for a month or two, and then I'll put it on the shelf, and I'll think about it. I'll do a reading at my home, bring in different actors and a director. And then I met Carol Kleinberg, who's an extraordinary director. She doesn't miss a trick, and she's so astute in terms of understanding the psychology of each actor. The actor actually playing the roles, but actually the character themselves. And she's been very good for me, because she has such high standards. And so if a line of dialogue is just a little bit clunky, she'll let me know. And she just say, just go home and rewrite that. You can do better. And so we have a really good relationship, and that's been a lot. It's been great for my growth as a.
So tell me a little about the dream you were speaking of and your next play.
Well, the next play is called Death of Honor. So when I saw the Hamilton play on stage, Undaunted, I realized that I needed to find the most dramatic moment in his life, and that was when his 19-year-old son Philip died in a duel defending his father's honor. And I always thought it'd be interesting to find a Greek tragedy at the birth of America. In Plato's Republic, he talks about the noble lie, that each founding of every nation is built on some kind of a falsehood or a lie. And I thought, how fascinating would it be to take Hamilton, who is a bit of an Odysseus, and his son Philip is a bit of a Telemachus, and Hamilton's wife, Betsy, is very much like Odysseus' wife. Anyway, it'll come to me, but there's a nice parallel in the structure of the characters. So, and I make one intellectual reference to that in the play. And we did 2 readings of this play up in New York City, and they went very, very well. I got some very positive feedback. I have a producer in New York who's behind this and is raising money. So the odds are against me, but I like my odds.
Oh, no, it's the dream,
well,
right?
Well, it is a dream, right? Yeah, and so I don't think about not succeeding. It's just a matter of when, and that dream kind of drives me forward.
And speaking of dreams, back to the play, Not Our Time. Mm-hmm. What do you want people to take away from the play?
I want them to the way I've described it is it focuses on 4 students who are all caught in a web of hope and confusion and deception and honest misunderstandings, and they're all trying to navigate their way through this web of confusion, and that some rise and some fall. And in the case of Henry Lawrence, who's the only actual character, real character in the play, he only makes it because of his courage and his perseverance and against great obstacles. So my hope is that the students, especially my students who will see this, are going to take away that this is a man who could have quit very easily. He had many reasons to quit, but he didn't, because he had a dream and he wouldn't let any obstacle get in the way. And I know now, Henry could be bitter for a lot of things in his life, and he's not. He doesn't hold any grudges against anybody who may have done him wrong in the past, because these were men of their times. And so I'm inspired by that as well. I think that's a very good perspective to have.
Well, thank you so much for spending
thank
time
you.
with us, and thank you for writing the play.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it when you get to see it.
Thanks, Bernard.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
But there ain't nothing going on between me and Miss Barnes. My mom was just, paying her a few extra dollars so she'll help me with my English. Get me ready for college.
College? What you been smoking, boy? Now everybody knows if we shipped off to Vietnam, we gonna be picking maters and beans as soon as our schooling's done.
Say what?
Henry, that's the way the man set up our little world. We get some schooling so it looks like we have a chance. Then there ain't no job, so it's back to the fields where we get the privilege to break our backs until we grow old, shrivel up.
Hey, don't tell me how it's gonna be. Look, I ain't dying no fields like my daddy picking maters for 20 cents a bushel. I'm gonna make me a better life than his. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's what you think.
And you can do the same. Miss Barnes, ain't she always saying you the smartest in the class?
And the laziest.
Yeah, you do what you want. But I got plans. Plans you don't know nothing about. Anything about.
That's real good, Henry. You keep working with Miss Barnes. Even if your English don't get better, maybe she'll serve up some of that sweet.
Hey, I said, watch yourself. Watch.
We're here this evening with Henry Lawrence, football hero, hometown hero. Henry, tell me a little bit about yourself.
There isn't much. There isn't much at all. I'm from the area. I've been here all my life. I grew up, in the field as a migrant farm worker. Did it all the way through my sophomore year in college. And I played sports, and I did academics. I went on to be a #1 draft pick with the Oakland Raiders in the NFL draft in '74. Had an opportunity to play in 2 Pro Bowls and 3 Super Bowls we won. And I played 13 years and went for 14, but a serious eye injury ended it.
And so tell me a little bit, the award-winning documentary Through the Tunnel. I saw that the other day and was so inspired. I had goosebumps and tears. What a story that is. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, I think it just was somewhat of a little of the history of the transformation from Lincoln High, which was the black school in Palmetto for Manatee County, and they closed it in the school year of June '69, and we went to Manatee High, and it just kind of gave an overview of kind of what transpired and the things that happened, but it doesn't give the real whole picture of it, but it does give enough so that you can see that it was a time of difficulty, time of strife, and we endured it.
And you did a great job. I mean, looking and just hearing that story was just so amazing to me, what people have gone through and still what we're dealing with today, and that this play that you're doing now, Not Our Time, telling the story about you and life struggles. Tell me a little bit about that.
There's so much more, but this stretch the surface. But the thing that really catches me more is the fact that when people do wrong to other people, it's wrong. It doesn't matter what color they are, because of this situation, we felt that it was wrong the way it was done, but we really had no choice in terms of it doing it. So sometimes when things like that happen, one has to decide, what do I do? Do I stop, quit, and do nothing, or do I keep forging ahead? And many of us, we made the choice to keep moving forward. And I moved forward. I pushed hard, and things worked out. But the other part of it is that if you're doing wrong to someone, it doesn't matter about the color, because I've been on both sides of it, not just from a race standpoint, from doing wrong. And when you do people wrong, that karma comes back in some way or another. But because you've done wrong doesn't mean that you quit. What it means is that you've got to change your whole attitude about it, and you got to move forward.
And Bernard, talking to him a little bit earlier, he told me the story about how he saw you at a blues festival and chased you down and really wanted you to know about his play. And he said he'd pay you half.
Well, we talked about it, even before that. We've got a relationship going, and I think we have some things going, and we'll see what happens, where it goes. But he's an awesome writer, and he also is a playwright and a screenwriter too. And we'll see. Hopefully, some things will develop from it. But the bottom line is that we get an opportunity to see some history in a different manner. You don't get to see it all, but just a basic summary.
That's amazing. So tell me, what would you like people to take away from seeing this play?
I think that what one can take away from this play is that it doesn't matter how charged the gate, how filled with punishment the scrolls. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And that there's a God above, and he made each and every one of us in his own image. And I think that if we keep moving forward, that God will provide a way.
Amen. I'm telling you.
Hallelujah.
Absolutely. Well, and I know you have to get to rehearsal tonight, and we just thank you so much for spending time with us, Henry, and we look forward to seeing the play.
Well, thank you. And we're looking forward. We got some other things coming down the pipeline.
What do you
also.
have coming down the pipeline?
Well, we're getting ready to start rehearsals. I'm going to do the Broadway play Hair with Ben Vereen. He's directed it down at the Venice Theater. We start rehearsing in September. The play will be running from November 10th to December the 12th. And I have a principal role in it.
Oh,
so
exciting.
We'll see what happens.
You going to sing?
Oh, well, I'm ready to do it all. I'm with the Venice Chorale, ex Vittante, and I've done a couple of operas down there with the group, not as a soloist, but with the chorale, and I'm also involved with them. We start this fall also, so it's going to be pretty busy. Getting it. Also, the thing that really trips me out with that is the first opera we did was in Latin.
Was it really?
Yes, and I went to rehearsal. I'm looking at it, and I told the director, I said, well, look, I said, I don't think he said, oh, no, just stick with it. We got through it. And the second one was actually in Hebrew, one of the songs, and one was in Swahili. And then the other songs were in English, but it wasn't the basic music structure that I was used to. But we did get through it. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what we'll be doing this fall.
And so how many performances, or tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I'm pretty sure we'll probably be doing between now and this time next year, probably one in December, which they're scheduled December the 6th, so we got to get that worked out. And there'll probably be another one in, I think, probably February, and then probably March and April. I don't know the schedule right now, but it's been very exciting, and it's been very different.
I can imagine Swahili and just learning everything.
Well,
singing.
my hope, eventually I get an opportunity to do a solo in one of the performances. We'll see what happens.
That's exciting. We can't wait to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Henry, for spending time with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
What an exciting evening to learn so much about this play and so much about the people behind it. Bernie, You want to tell people a little bit about when they can see and buy tickets for this great play?
The play's going up at the Sarasota Players Theater August 20th to the 23rd. It's a 7:30 performance on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and 2 p.m. on Sunday. Love to see you here. It's a great story about a great man.
Yeah, and as we heard earlier this evening, those tickets go to the foundation that help educate and bring new actors to life. So, Henry, what would you like to say and have people take away from this play tonight?
Well, I like to communicate to them, all of them, is that one monkey don't stop no show. You know, you got to move forward. You know, if at first you don't succeed, then try and try again. And as I grew up learning from my mama, my grandmama, my brothers, my uncles, and a few coaches and other folks, is that you take lemons, if they give it to you, and make lemonade.
All right. And Carol, directing this play, tell me a little bit about what you want people to take away from it.
Well, first of all, I think it's lemonade. We have an absolutely wonderful cast, and it's I said it before, it's an honor and a privilege to bring Henry's story to the stage, and I'm so appreciative of the players for making this happen. It needs community support. It deserves community support, and if you come and see it, you're going to love it.
Well, thank you so much. And please come out and see the play here at the Players Theater in Sarasota. Inspiring stories, great community support. Thank you so much.